poetry, partially me, partially you, partially Walt Whitman, partially the world we live in, and partially something that none of us could name. So I'm so grateful to have all of you here, and I really appreciate all of the support of just having your eyes. This has not been a process of pure exuberance and celebration for me, and seeing your smiling faces reminds me of that celebration and that exuberance, which we often lose when we start dealing with those we love academically, particularly great writers. I'm sure many of you have experienced this. And so I wanted to begin this performance by announcing my intentions. I'm a firm believer that our intentions define our reality. Actually, when I started this whole project, I got like this notebook. And the first thing I put was a Grateful Dead sticker and then a rainbow sticker, but then I found this fortune cookie fortune that says, "Let your intentions create your methods, and not the other way around." And so I'm trying to do things in the right direction this way. So I wanted to begin with the intentions of this piece. And I've divided them into 4 intentions. And for each intention, we have a poem, right? And so the first intention and the first poem that I just presented for you is what I like to call the intention of calling together the band of cosmos. In the first edition of Leaves of Grass, Walt Whitman writes this incredible prologue, sometimes referred to as the American Bard essay, in which he outlines this vision of a world in which there are no more priests because every man is their own priest and every person is engaged in this process of sort of inhaling the whole world around them and then synthesizing it and exhaling it back out to all that they come into contact with. And through this process, we develop this mass interconnection of radical individuals who also have a simultaneous sense of the good of the community and who everyone's interconnected and we don't fear or judge, and we all draw from our predecessors without shame. And this is the first intention, is creating this band of cosmos. And inherent to that, to me, is this old saying, right? This old saying, everything we're saying has already been said. Now, as an artist, that's always been a daunting thing to me, right? Because I'm thinking, shit. Everything we're saying has already been said. What am I going to say? And then, one day, with Walt Whitman's help, I realized that doesn't have to be a bad thing, right? The fact that everything we're saying has already been said, if indeed that's true, means that for any passion you can have, for anything you believe in, for any truth you might pursue, there exists people in the past who have already spoken to it, which means that there are already people out there who have spoken eloquently to what you're trying to say as a human being, and that is a huge source of power. And there's this problem where we're always afraid of appropriating the words of the past and of, we treat our heroes as these sacred objects in which we can't use their words and twist them or change their words or pull from their words without sort of properly citing it and attributing it. I mean, today is Martin Luther King Jr.'s 50th anniversary of giving his speech here at Dartmouth. And there's this thing with Martin Luther King where we turn him into such a hero that we don't think we can do what he was doing. Right? And as soon as we do that, we lose the power that comes from the people of the past. And so this poem I just presented to you kind of shamelessly was stealing quotes from poems of all of the different poets I was mentioning throughout it. And the point in that is to start playing with this idea of just shamelessly drawing from the past. So, I have a little story about one Richard Crocker sitting in the audience today. My sophomore year, I was doing a slam poem, and I guess Richard heard it, and he asked me if I would come and perform it for a class of his as an example of Whitmanian poetry. And I'd read Whitman, but I'd never thought of the poem as a piece about Whitman or a piece related to Whitman in any way. And I was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll come read it for your class, but I don't understand how this is Whitmanian poetry. And it was a poem, it was all about rainbows and sunshine and feeling divine, about living and giving and loving your time, about singing a song when you're standing in line because reality is ringing and the doorbell is rhyme. Yeah, she's in the mountains and the prairies from the mainland to the coast. She's a lady we all know. And I'd like to offer her a toast, because when you hear her come near and kneel nice and close, give no noose of a name to make her a ghost. She's the original organic. So there's no call to panic, because the beautiful's intrinsic in the nature of our planet. Every soul is a seed, germinating in the cracked compost called reality as we feed on the ghosts of our families, growing until we recede into death or insanity, returning eternally to parted particles floating on the breeze or the dirt that grows new trees. My soul is free. Like every tree, I will reach for the sun, grow my arms wide enough to shade everyone until I'm bearing apples and pears, and believe in the cares of the lovers that carve in my side, or the frightened souls that climb in my branches to hide, and someday I may fall in a storm, or die of the infection of an invasive swarm. I don't know how I'll go when it comes to the end, but I hope that my wood builds a strong house for my friend. If my limbs are too weak and I just won't cut right, I'll burn warm for good people in the cold of the night, because I live for the feeling of seeing sunbeams shining on your face, for community, unity, all you freaky people in every beautiful place, for letting your roots nourish your limbs until reality is riding on your whims and you're feeling divine without even trying, because you know that checking your watch won't change the time, and he who made the rhyme committed the crime. So me, I'm guilty of rainbows and sunshine.